Hello, this is Shawn Callaway, President of the National Federation of the Blind of the District of Columbia, President of the National Organization of Blind Black Leaders. You're listening to White Canes Connect.
Hey there, PA Federationists. Welcome to another episode of White Canes Connect, presented by the National Federation of the Blind of Pennsylvania. My name is David Goldstein. I'm the treasurer of the Keystone Chapter. Joining me today is co-host and Keystone Chapter's second vice president, Lisa Bryant. Lisa, how are you today?
Doing well, David, and it was nice talking with Shawn Callaway. We had him on a few years ago. He was the national representative at our state convention and is now president of the Black Leaders Division, more known as NOBBL, and we'll hear about that name change. But a lot has happened since the last time we've had him on.
It really has, and it was nice to have him on again. And thinking back to that convention where he wore that Eagles hat, and we're recording this before the Super Bowl. I know it's going to come out after the Super Bowl, but we didn't get any kind of predictions from him, which I guess we should have talked about. But it was nice to have him on again and talking about how this organization got started, NOBBL, and how long it took to get it going and to get things running. And it's, again, a great thing. Shawn's got a lot of stuff to tell you, how you can join it, whether you're part of the National Federation of the Blind of Pennsylvania or you have no affiliation yet with any NFB affiliate. You can jump into this division, and let's take a listen to Shawn. Shawn, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Oh, happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me back again. It's always a pleasure.
So, Shawn, a lot has changed since we last had you on, and there have been some new developments, which is why we wanted to have you back to talk about the National Organization of Blind Black Leaders. But before we even get into all of that, we should note that you have been a member of the National Board since 2016 and president of our DC affiliate since 2011. So you've been around the Federation for some time now.
Yes, it's amazing how time just moves on and flies. But I've been around a long time. You're right about that.
Yeah. So for folks who don't know the structure of the National Federation of the Blind, tell us about what goes into becoming a division. What is a division? And, what does it mean to be a division within the NFB?
The purpose of a division really is to I would say, well, some would say recruit more members into the organization, but I believe it's a spirit of commonality, right? Meaning that blind people who have a shared interest, as blind people in a particular area of study, employment, activity, I just the whole gamut of different things that we are as blind people are part of, that we can share something amongst us as blind people. So, for example, we have a division of a computer science division. So that division is made up of blind people who are mainly computer science individuals or assistive technology. So we have a blind seniors division, right? So we have that's a division of all members who are maybe 55 and above. I believe that's the criteria. So it's basically a way to bring federations together, blind people together, who have a shared interest, basically. So, and in order to become a division, it's several steps you have to take. But the National Board of Directors, they received a request to become a division, and they must approve that request. So, and it's several steps that I can't remember right now, but you have to sort of fill out. And one of the things is that how viable would it be within the organization? Meaning that is this something that will benefit blind people within the organization for us to gain, for us to learn, in regards to the particular activity that we're talking about or the particular division. So that's one of the major criteria that I believe is within the, sort of creating a division within the organization.
But it's more than just a support group of people with some sort of common bond, because the structure itself, and correct me wherever I'm wrong, you have your own officers, you have your own set of bylaws.
That's a great point. It goes beyond commonality, yes, because it's structured as almost as if it's a chapter, right? So you do have officers, president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and some board members. And so and the main goal again is to sort of bring awareness about this about the particular division to the blind community itself. And a part of that component to becoming a division also is, the ability to fundraise, right? Because if you're a group, you can't really fundraise. But if you are a division, you can fundraise and raise money to support a certain cause as well. So yes, you have officers, and also a lot of programming goes into some of the divisions that have been developed within the Federation as well. So again, that's extremely important. Programming.
Do you have all of the officer positions in place? Are they all the offices?
Yeah, those positions were voted on at our most positions are voted on at the national convention. If those divisions are having meetings in person at the convention, oftentimes and most times they are voted on at the convention. So it's a real deal. It's just not throwing the hodgepodge of people together and say, okay, let's share this shared interest. It's let's have this shared interest. Excuse me. It's all about business and again bringing awareness.
What more other than awareness? How were the people who are now in the division? What was not being addressed? Where did they feel like they needed to be served in order to create the division? Like what prompted the need for this?
I'm glad you mentioned that, because now we strictly talk about the National Organization of Blind Black Leaders.
That's correct.
Okay. So when in 2018, during our DEI committee meeting at the National Convention in Orlando, Florida, myself and Dr. Rosie Carranza, we, of course, conducted a meeting, and a question was asked about what do members want to see when it comes to diversity within the organization. So there was a young lady named Florence Myers McSwine, who African-American young lady from the Indiana affiliate, who stood up and basically said, when I come to these conventions or when I'm a part of this organization, I want to meet Black women like myself, right? Because we as Black women share the same experiences. And because we are all blind does not mean we all have the same experiences, right? And so that was sort of the genesis of what started out as the Black Leader Serving for Advancement. And, our goal, again, was to bring awareness about the Black community within the organization itself and some of the things that we go through as blind people. Some may say that this kind of committee or division will divide. No, it's not. It's not about dividing or just separating ourselves from the Federation, because we all love the Federation, and it was the Federation that brought us together. Again, it's about having those shared experiences, not only outside of the Federation, but even within the Federation as well. Because again, even though we all are blind, our diversity is sort of what makes us different in that aspect, and we can kind of relate to one another. Matter of fact, there is a study out there by way of Langston University where they show statistics on sort of minority research and rehabilitation services, right? And how there's a disparity amongst people of color and people who are not of color in regards to service delivery and rehabilitation services across the country. So, it's all about, again, having that not only shared interest, but bringing awareness to our membership within the Federation.
So is there a mission statement of the division?
There is, well, I will say this. There is one, and again, I can't recite it verbatim. But I would say our mission mainly, honestly, Lisa, is to retain, recruit, but bring awareness about blind Black people within the Federation, but within our communities. But also what is key, Lisa, is that we bring awareness to the Black community as well. There's this misconception that we as Black people are not marginalized by our own people. When I say blind Black people, I mean I mean blind Black people are not marginalized by our own community, and that's not true at all. And a lot of that marginalization, what Anil Lewis refers to as compassionate discrimination, meaning that the attitudes and assumptions about our capabilities aren't relayed to us by hate. It's by the lack of knowledge and awareness about our capabilities. So we try to bring awareness to our own community about our capabilities as blind Black people.
We should let people know. See, we talk amongst ourselves sometimes. Anil Lewis is, please, say who Anil Lewis is.
Anil Lewis he's right now, he currently serves as Executive Director of Blindness Initiatives within the National Federation of the Blind, but also he served as the president of the Georgia affiliate years ago. But he's one of our leaders within the organization.
So have you guys identified, or what sort of ideas are you coming up with to educate the larger community?
Oh, Lisa, we've actually since I would say back. You remember when the George Floyd incident happened?
Sure.
Right. When that happened, we had what we call these happy hours, right? And we would have a Zoom call, and we would invite all our events are open to everyone. Black, white, doesn't matter, right? So we don't exclude anyone from our events. But when we had the first session, sort of Zoom call, happy hour, which was a presentation by, again, Black Leaders Serving for Advancement, Lisa, we had over 100 and about 40, 45 people attend that call.
Wow.
And quite a few of them were people who were not of color, right? And they had questions and a lot of questions of us as blind Black people. So again, that's what we try to do. We try to bring that awareness through our programming. We have several programs throughout the year through our different groups that are established under the National Organization of Blind Black Leaders. What I'm gonna start saying now is NOBBL, because that's the acronym.
Okay.
So, I was going to ask it. It's perfect for NOBBL, yeah. when you mentioned the organization,
Yes, sir. So under NOBBL, we have several different programs under our working groups. We have a blind women's group, which is led by Denise Brown. So we have a mentorship and outreach group, which is led by a woman named Suzanne Turner, but has been passed on to Joanne, I believe, Williams. We have a blind seniors group led by Steve Lindsay. We have a blind Black men's group, which is led by myself and Lee Martin. So we have several groups. Also, we have committees where we focus on historically Black colleges and universities. We have a communications committee, but we also have a committee that focuses on health and wellness amongst us as blind Black folks, because you think about it, a lot of Black people acquire blindness in a few ways, and this mainly glaucoma and diabetic retinopathy. Those are the two major causes of blindness within the African American community. So we try to address all kinds of facets of blind Black life, I guess you want to say.
Yeah. And that's very important. I mean, that's just important all around. So about how many members would you say you have, actively involved? And then do you know the numbers in terms of how many Black federationists there are nationally, and how many of those are actively involved with this division? Do you have those kind of numbers?
Well, those numbers were never collected, Lisa, over all these years. Those type of numbers were never collected. Okay. In terms of, as a matter of fact, a few years ago, a survey was put out, disseminated amongst the membership in regards to DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. But no, none of our affiliates, our national office, never collected records of sort of nationalities and races and religions and none of that stuff. So no, we don't have but I do have an interesting statistics that we collected a few years ago. And mainly I was the one who kind of made the phone calls and talked to affiliate presidents. I was calling each affiliate president to find out how many Black chapter presidents were in the affiliate. Mm-hmm. And overall, it was a few years ago, so it could be increased, but it was 75 Black chapter presidents within the organization, which if you look at that number, that's about like 20% of the chapters, less than a little bit less than 20%.
And how many members are in the division?
Oh, you did? Yes. I would say roughly right now we have up to 80 members who have signed up to be a part of the division. So that's a pretty solid number, quite honestly, for a first year. Yeah. And quite honestly, it does continue to grow by each meeting that we do have.
You don't have to be a member of, let's say, the NFB of Pennsylvania to join your division. That could be your way into the NFB if you choose. You don't have to.
That's a great point. That's it. That's why our divisions are established as well, because a lot of members that we've obtained over the years have actually come through some of our divisions. So that's a great point, Dave. Yep.
They're putting their toe in the water first before they kind of dive in. And are there membership dues for the divisions?
Well, our first year from a ceremonial standpoint is only $1. That's for year 2023. And then when 2024 begins, it will be $10, actually. That's the cost of most of our divisions for dues.
So similar to the chapters and affiliates.
Yep, exactly.
So with this being Black History Month, you were rattling off some statistics and thought that was interesting. Is there already, or is it in the works, to sort of memorialize the statistics, like the first Black chapter president of
that's
blah
a great
blah blah
question.
city, the first Black president of any affiliate? Is that already in place? Are there plans to put that in sort of history in place?
Well, yeah, no question, because I'm sure you and David know that the Federation is starting to work on the museum project, right? And so with that project, we're definitely collecting info. Well, we already have like that data within the, we know who it is. We ain't got to go figure that out. Like, for example, I believe the first Black affiliate president was in Ohio. I believe his name was Alfonso Smith, if I'm not mistaken. So we do have information. Matter of fact, President Riccobono had kind of rattled off some important figures within the Federation a few years ago during his banquet speech. And so, so we do have that. I would say that we will bring those individuals to the forefront within our division. I think that, and not just for Black folks, all kinds of all the different races and diversity and religions within the organization. I'm sure we have information and definitely throughout the year to reflect the diverse. Our organization is extremely diverse, and I think it was never brought out because I think the mindset was that we're all blind, so it doesn't matter, right? But I think it really does matter, and to have that diversity within our organization, it's actually a beautiful thing, quite honestly, because it's definitely unique and it's different than any other organization, especially advocacy organization in the world, really.
Yeah. Do you think there might be the need for a historical committee within the division just to make sure that someone stays on top of the division efforts as they go forth?
Well, yeah, the historian actually on the national level is definitely staying connected with us, us in regards to, sort of that history. Because, she doesn't know about sort of the African-American experience beyond the information that she walked into as a new historian within the organization. So, yeah, I think definitely, Lisa, this is something that we will take charge of. And the thing about it is, too, it's very important to have that connection with the historian, because we all won't be a part of this division. We'll be a part of the division, but we won't be in leadership forever, right? So they got to continue to keep pace with the new leadership that transitions in as we kind of transition out. But yeah, definitely our connection, again, because of the museum project, especially, we definitely will be looking at, and keep in mind, Lisa, we always one thing we always do. We let folks know sort of about what's going on now in regards to Black leadership within the organization. So we have 7, I believe, affiliate Black presidents right now. We have, like 5 or 6 national board members who are African Americans. So we kind of let the community know that yes, you can obtain leadership as a person of color.
Right.
So, yep. Mm-hmm.
And what have you seen in terms of growth of Black leadership or Black involvement within the Federation over the years that you've been involved?
I've seen some growth. I mean, I think that, and so funny, Lisa, when you look back several years ago, in the 90s, and it was still it was always like 5 or 6 affiliate presidents in the 90s, right? So right now we're in 2023 and it's still maybe, 5, 6, 7 affiliate presidents, as I mentioned. And so I think through our programming, for example, we have a scholarship program, right? And, the scholarship program often puts us in a position to obtain new members who eventually become leaders within the organization. I give you a prime example. Candace Chapman was an NFB scholarship winner, right? Who was tugging in between, different what organizations she'd be a part of and things of that nature. And, for her to be a scholarship winner and now she serves as president of the Mississippi affiliate is a prime example of someone coming through sort of the federation system and acquiring leadership, right? And so I tell people all the time, Lisa, leadership just does not fall on you. It does not fall in your lap. You have to earn that leadership, and earning that leadership is giving back to the organization in many ways, possible. So, and that's just how it is. So, but I've seen, like I said, when you have 75, and that was, like I said, a few years ago, 75 Black chapter presidents. Some may say that's not a lot, but that's quite a bit. Quite honestly, it is. That's quite a bit, and so I see it just getting larger. Throughout the years coming, and I think it's just going to get bigger and better.
So you mentioned that being a division allows you to do your own fundraising and programming. Again, this is going to run during Black History Month. Are there any particular events acknowledging Black History Month, or just any future programming or fundraising events that you can share?
Well, the fundraising events have not occurred just yet because we're having our account established and things of that nature. But once that's established, we'll be definitely exploring fundraisers. But in terms of upcoming programs, I know that our mentorship and outreach program actually has an event where they are doing a virtual tour of the African American Museum in Washington, D.C., which is pretty cool. And so we have that going. I know that our Black elected leaders, led by Denise Avant, which I didn't mention earlier, but I'm going to mention the board in a minute as well, because I think they deserve their just due. But Denise Avant heads the Black elected leaders group that we have, and I know they're planning for an event as well during the month of February, and also our regular meeting will be held in February as well. But one of the things we do, Lisa, as well, is that we kind of bring in outside folks as well. So, for example, our first meeting as a division, we had a guest, Dr. Monique Coleman, who was doing a dissertation on blind Black women and their children, blind children going through the IEP process. Right. So she shared that study with the organization, because, again, a lot of people don't know the struggles of blind African Americans within the school system. Right. And that showed the lack of resources that some of the barriers that many of the parents encounter. So we try to bring out outside folks as well that will sort of enhance our knowledge base within the the community in general.
Anything particular planned for the convention this year? The
Oh no,
national one?
we just have our, we always have planned a special program at our national convention. Of course, we'll have our first full-fledged business meeting, and then we'll have a nice program which will feature African Americans from Texas, most likely, because we try to reflect what So, for example, last year in New Orleans, we had 4 leaders within the National Federation of the Blind of Louisiana speak during our convention. So that's our plan, is just to always have an uplifting program, but then we will have a business session as well. But we may have something else in store. We're just beginning the planning stages of our convention, so we'll see.
Yeah. So you wanted to give some kudos to your board?
Yeah, I definitely want to acknowledge them, because this is the board that actually started the Black Leaders Serving for Advancement, which turned into our division. So we have our first vice president is Denise Avant, second vice president Richard Payne, secretary is Suzanne Turner, our treasurer is Denise Brown, and then we have 2 board members, LaShawna Font and Candace Chapman. But then also we want to acknowledge also Lee Martin of Indiana and Dr. Carolyn Peters of Ohio, who were just as instrumental in our division being formed as anyone. So definitely wanted, because I'm gonna tell you something real quickly. So we put in a lot of time. I mean, it seemed like every Tuesday for 3 years, 3 or 4 years straight, we were meeting to, and so you see the fruits of our labor, right?
Yeah.
And so all the individuals I just mentioned, we put a lot of time, family time aside for that particular evening, so we can really the fun part about it, at least in David, is that we just enjoy bringing awareness to folks. We enjoy uplifting people, right? We've had people who said, they didn't, really want to do any federation work until blind Black leaders came along, because now they have a purpose, right?
Yeah.
They didn't want to join the federation because they felt that at one time NFB stood for not for Blacks. That was sort of the running a line. Yeah. And so now these same individuals who kind of stayed away are now understanding. But the good part about it is that we when we come together as federations, right? Matter of fact, we start our meetings off with the pledge. With a 1-minute message, so to let folks know, no, we're federationists first, right? First and foremost, because that's what brought us together, and this is who we represent. And so we're teaching the folks our federation philosophy, and again, take it back to their communities and empowers them to be, better blind people. That's the ultimate goal we want as well.
What about outreach to bring in? I think it's so important to bring in younger folks, high schoolers, college. Do you have anything in place to try and recruit folks from there? Because that obviously is the future of both the division and the organization.
Great question, David. One of the things we're planning to do is send out communications to our historically Black colleges and universities, right? Because they do have blind people who attend those schools. So when you talk about the young folks, we definitely look at those individuals. And then also now with the high school landscape, it's a little different, especially if they're not federationists, in terms of trying to really get that communication out there. So we will probably need the assistance of our affiliates to help us with that. And so we're in those planning stages right now. But in regards to the college, especially the historically Black college and university, we're in a process of disseminating information to those universities to let them know that, look, we're here. And if you know some blind Black students who want to be a part of this organization and this division, we're here. And that's why we have the outreach and mentoring program, right? Because again, David, we struggle sometimes within our own community as blind Black people, right? So who better teach them how to navigate their own community than people like ourselves who are on this board and part of this division, especially if they're young. So that's a great point, that we do want to have young people get involved. And just be a part of us of what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Like, what have you seen as the involvement in terms of young folks? Because I'm sure there are a lot of the leadership has probably been, as you said, they were waiting for this for many, many years, been kind of, toiling the soil, like, trying to get this thing going. But what about those other generations who have maybe been on the sidelines? But you have some younger folks already involved, correct?
I think so. We got some folks. I've mentioned
and
to
I guess
several
younger
people.
Is relative, right?
Yeah. So when we say younger, I'm thinking you're saying 30 and younger, right?
Yes,
Maybe.
yes.
And
We'll go with
so
that.
I just turned 50,
Kids.
so I have my younger days have passed. But I would say that we think about two young men in South Carolina, Derek Simons and Christopher Crawley, right? Those are two young leaders who are. Matter of fact, they were so enthusiastic about our division. They started their own division with an affiliate of South Carolina. So we have a young man named Qualik Ford who he's not as involved. I won't put Qualik out there, but I'm always talking with him, so he wants to get involved. So young people do want to get involved. We actually have a young adults group right now that's kind of inactive, but it's going to get started pretty soon. And so, that's the plan, because again, we can't lead forever.
Right.
We know this,
right.
And I don't plan to lead forever. So, our young people, this is the Federation in general, right? We want our young folks. That's why we have such a strong National Association of Blind Students, right? Because we know that those are our future leaders. Case in point, Pam Allen, who's the first president of this organization, National Federation of Blind, was a member of NABS, right? The late Scott LaBar was a member of NABS. Dr. Mark Maurer, one of I believe our third president of the Federation, he was a student of NABS. I mean, a member of NABS. So our students are very important to our movement and what we do. So so definitely that's the outreach to our young folks is very, very important.
So before you leave, I mean, meaning that you pass the role of president on to someone else, have you thought about what you would like to accomplish before you pass that torch on?
I think one of our, again, you mentioned sort of that mission and what our ultimate goal is. And what I want is hopefully to have the misconceptions of dispelled of what this division is truly all about. It's not about division. It's going to bring us together as an organization and get more Black people involved in the Federation. But we want to make sure that, again, the ultimate goal is about awareness and bringing awareness about blind Black people and their capabilities, right? And so we want to make sure, and I'm gonna get to a quick story in a minute, but we want to make sure that we have inclusive spaces in the organization, and it's been pretty inclusive. You still have some situations that are not so inclusive, right? And we can't. One thing about, I tell people all the time, one thing about diversity, equity, inclusion, divisions like this, it's not going to change no one's mindset off the break, right? It's not going to make a person who may be a little, let's just call it what it is, racist, right? It's not going to stop them from being racist, right? But what it does is put folks on notice that, hey, look, we have these divisions and we have DEI committees, so you can't be exclusive of a member because of the color of their skin, because of their religion, because of their sexuality. Right. So it's just about making sure we have inclusive spaces within this organization. But I want to go back to the story back in 2004 when a man named Don Galloway, who proposed to the convention on the convention floor that the organization should have a Black caucus, and he was roundly booed off that floor. Okay. Okay.
So wait, what year was that about?
2004 in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
And so to see where we are now, that we do have a division, we call him our precursor to all this, really, right? He saw this coming, and he saw a need for this years ago, and he's unfortunately passed away. But I think it was meant because, believe it or not, he was president of the DC affiliate at one time. And he called me into his home to let me know that I should run for president of the DC affiliate. And he gave me sort of the history of what he was trying to do within the organization. And lo and behold, I end up being the president of a division that he sorely wanted when he was on this earth. So yeah, it's pretty
gives
deep.
you kind of chills.
yeah, it's deep. It was deep. I talked to Don's wife, actually. She was just extremely happy about this initiative because she said that was something he always wanted. And so hopefully I want to have Mrs. Galloway hopefully come to one of our conventions as well to speak about the importance of Don Galloway. So
what do you see as a sort of an immediate need to get some of these things going? What do you need from the Federation? What do you need from even people who might be out there listening, maybe thinking about possibly getting involved? What would be where you most need people to serve?
I would say this. I'm a big person on come as you are. Like, just come. Let's do it. We'll figure out the need later. Again, we'll go back to the young folks because even though we have some enthusiastic young folks now, we could use a little more, right? We can use a little more infusion from the young folks. But I think for a start off, Lisa and David, where we are, we have all these, like close to 80 people as a part of the division is great. I mean, it's only going to get bigger and better. I think one thing that we have had two things: support from our leadership. Kudos to President Mark Riccobono, who's been extremely supportive of us since the beginning. And we're just truly grateful for him. But also our membership, who are not of color, right? Who have really supported this division as well. And so it's a good thing to have allies to say, okay, hey, this division is not what you think. And we've had some folks who are part of the Federation who have really supported us, who are not Black, right? But they've supported our programs and events, and I'm just very grateful for that. So what we need is just to continue support, and I think we'll make things happen that way.
It's not an exclusion type of thing. Not everybody's a senior, so you're not going to join that. You're not going to have. It's not something you want to be involved with. So it's the same thing here. If you, it's basically niching down into, not everybody likes football. Not everybody's going to watch the Super Bowl, but those who do want to get together. You know what I mean? And they want to be together, and they have a common interest, like you said. And I think that's the important thing. The other important thing that I think you mentioned, Shawn, is it's a way into the NFB without jumping in on the affiliate side, whether you're in Pennsylvania or California, wherever you are, you still have that connection and you get involved. And some may say, hey, I kind of like this. There's a whole bunch of blind people together. Maybe I do want to get something close by where I can go and actually be in the same room with a bunch of blind people. And it can only help the organization overall by having folks get together. And again, this is getting in a little bit easier than joining a state affiliate and going to chapter meetings in person and so forth, where you still get whatever you want out of it other than the face-to-face meeting, unless you're at the convention. But it's just something that folks can get involved with and should get involved with.
And David, I would say this, and both of you have asked some wonderful questions, and I would say this to add to your point, David. We have a Judaism group, we have a Muslim group. We have an LGBTQ committee. Again, all these different divisions that we have out there. Again, if you could come into an organization where you see someone like you as a blind person, it's a wonderful thing. I mean, it's not. Look, it's not a lot of blind Muslims walking around here on this earth, right? It's just not, right? It's not a lot of blind Jewish folks walking around, right? We're a low incidence population anyway. Right.
Yeah.
So when you can join something or be a part of something that basically is who you are, right, and you share that same interest, I mean, it's a win-win. It's a win-win for that individual, right? But it's a win-win for the organization as well. Think about this: when you Google blind Muslims, right, you can get hits from across the world. Right, because some people don't know how do we know We know of any blind Muslims. You Google, boom, right there, National Federation of Blind Muslim Group. So it's always a good thing. I think, again, long as we don't disrupt sort of the train, which is the Federation train in regards to our philosophy and mission. It's always going to be it's going to be okay. I'll say this, I'm not going to take your time up, but when we talk, one year we were planning for an event, and I had proposed that to the group that we should have our meeting, since it was virtual, one of our meetings during the evening of the Washington seminar, like maybe on a Tuesday evening or a Wednesday evening. And my members was like, nah, that's not a good idea, Shawn. First and foremost, we're going to do our Federation work. We're going to focus on the Washington seminar. Then we can come back to our meeting. So it shows you how focused on the Federation that the membership of at the time was Black Leaders Serving for Advancement. But we want to make people, we want to make sure that people understand we are Federationist first.
Federations first, yeah.
And then and we as blind Black people are coming together to do additional work in regards to bringing awareness. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And I'm just, and not just for, like I said, NOBBL, but for all our groups as well, right? And the diversity is here and it's not going anywhere.
And I think also, Shawn, you represent so many different, I guess, subsets within the Federation. You're also actively involved with the Diversity and Inclusion Committee. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think you've also written an article or two, or been an advocate for blind parents, correct?
Yeah, I wrote an article about my experience being a blind parent with my daughter. And so again, in my community, right? Lisa, see, you're gonna make me talk about too much.
That's all right. That's why you're here.
Okay, let me take you back to 2019. And people have heard me tell this story several times, but I'm gonna tell it again. There's a very, very popular show called The Breakfast Club, right?
Yes.
And it's led by Charlamagne the God and DJ Envy and a woman named Angela Yee. She's no longer on the show. Okay. But they had a blind young lady come on the show. And the blind young lady said, it was a sort of a question and answer, and where, if you want to share your frustrations about something, call the show. So she called the show and she said, I don't understand why parents won't let me babysit their children, right? Because of my blindness. And these two jokers, these two dudes say, well, we understand because you're blind. That's something basically you can't do, right? Now, keep in mind, David and Lisa, the Breakfast Club has millions of
very popular, yeah,
millions. So they had people call in the show, said, and this was the question: would you let a blind person watch your kid? So you had all these people calling the show, basically say, hell no, right?
Wow.
And it shows you the ignorance of our community. And that was it. And people, when I say ignorance, it's not a bad thing. Ignorance means lack of knowledge. You don't know.
Right.
So I don't want people to get offended when I say that. But I mean, that shows you this wildly popular show will go out of their way to really marginalize us as Black people. And so when I wrote my article, I put that piece in there as well, because when I go out with my daughter, we don't have a blind parents bill in DC yet. We're working on it, right? But I could be walking out with my daughter and a social worker sees me. Well, what's a blind man doing with his daughter alone? She can call Child Protective Services on me, right? And really, I have nothing to save me. There's no law that protects me, right? But then again, you have this show which sort of, again, marginalizes the capabilities of blind Black people being parents and so caretakers. This is what we're dealing with. So that's what I mean when we talk about bringing awareness to our community.
That's very disheartening to hear that about the show. It almost sounds like it was a little more than marginalizing. It sounds like it was really mocking.
Outstanding, Lisa. Let me tell you this in the show. So the young lady has said, we can watch. I can watch a kid, and so Charlamagne said, "Now see, you said the word watch," and he was making fun of the young lady because she said the word watch, and no one did nothing. The Federation called the show, contacted the show,
really?
and it was crickets. They didn't respond back, even though he said, "Well, if I'm willing to learn, so if you want to, call us up, let us know how you are able to watch or babysit a child. Let us know." And when that happened, crickets. Matter of fact, if you go on YouTube in regards to that particular show, the title of that particular show, I don't think it's the actual show that has the title, but on YouTube, it says "Takes Call from a Dumb Blind Girl."
A dumb blind girl?
Yes.
I'll try to find that and put that in the that is so disheartening again, just because it's just something that we're fighting every day.
It's mean.
And it's just, again, it's just like you said, Shawn, it's just ignorance, and that's there's nothing more to it than that.
It was very, and when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, because I saw it live, right? Me and my buddy, I was with my buddy, studying some fantasy football stuff, and I'm like, and we got this on TV. I was like, Lamont, did you just hear that? He's like, yeah, I heard it. And so, I contacted President Rick Abono. I said, we need to say something to do something about this.
Right.
And, we made some efforts from a social media standpoint. But again, because the show didn't respond, they kind of it kind of died out. But it was something. Even, there were YouTubers going on like college campuses asking people, would you let a blind person watch your child? It had a little buzz for a minute, but it just didn't spoil that ignorance that I wish we would have had the opportunity as a blindness organization to do.
So that sounds like a good segue into how people can get involved with the division, sort of a call to action. And if you see things like this, are you comfortable with Shawn saying, if you hear, of other instances like this where literally the blind community is being ridiculed, we want to know about it. So share those links to videos or segments from talk shows, whatever the case is. Is that reasonable to think that you would want to hear about that, especially when it involves the Black community?
That's right. Yeah, we want to just try to dispel those myths about our capabilities and go into our communities again to let folks know, look, come on, there are things you don't know. You don't know that we do have training centers for blind people. We just don't sit in the corners of our home after we lose our vision, right? We don't have people walking with us throughout the house to go to the bathroom. I mean, these are things I've heard. I mean, and I mean, this is what I've heard out of people's mouths is that, what you come into church by yourself. I mean, my grandfather's blind and he don't, we got to walk him around the house. That's because you set low expectations for him. He doesn't know that he can live the life he wants. He doesn't know about using a white cane. And that's the thing. So, of course, we would love to take, any information or any gripes that you may have within the community. And we have no problems of going to any social institution and say, okay, we're blind Black folks and we're here. We can live the lives we want.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned somebody being led around. Now, maybe it's because I am also, African American and that's, the community I'm in. But the times that I have seen someone literally being led around has been a Black person.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable. And again, all of us as federationists, no matter what race or religion we're part of, we have to deal with marginalization in general. But it stings a little more when you're marginalized by marginalized people.
Yeah.
That's what hurts the most, right? Yeah. That's what stings the most. And so, definitely if people have any sort of gripes or concerns or things they learn within their communities that they've been treated differently because of their blindness, we urge you to email us at diversity@nfb.org. That's diversity@nfb.org. We're here to make people's lives better. But also, again, I said it several times, bring awareness to our communities.
So that diversity email address, is that also for the NOBBL or is there another one for NOBBL?
That's the same for NOBBL right now, because we just had the name change. So we're working with our national office with emails and all that other stuff. But we'll be ready to rock and roll soon. But definitely right now, diversity@nfb.org. And I will definitely get the email if or the message if you send one in.
Well, Shawn, it has been great catching up with you again, and it's really nice to see the progress of this being a committee. I guess that's how it first started out, and now a full-fledged division with a lot of exciting stuff in the works. So thank you again for coming on and bringing us up to date.
Oh, David and Lisa, always a pleasure. I mean, you two phenomenal people. Anyway, and I'm not just saying this because you allowed me on your show. I've met you both in person, so I just thank y'all for having me on.
Thanks again to Shawn for joining us on this episode and giving us the heads up about NOBBL. And Lisa, one of the things that he mentioned in the interview was the clip from that popular The Breakfast Show, where they ridiculed the blind girl who wanted to be a babysitter, and they gave her the what for.
Yeah, people can listen to it and draw their own conclusions. My takeaway was I was very offended by how she was treated. I think because she sounds so young, they took advantage of that. She kind of, sounded even younger than a 20-year-old. And I think because she also didn't come right back at them with sort of specific examples of what she's able to do, how she navigates her world, how she dresses herself, how she fixes her own food. If she could have bam, wait, you know what? I know how to do this. I know how to do that. I think that would have shut that ridiculing down. But they probably caught her off guard as well.
She probably has the confidence, as many of us do, that it's just not in somebody's mind that, hey, a blind person can do that. What do you mean a blind person can get from point A to point B on their own? And sometimes sighted folks just don't get it. And again, the link for the clip will be in the show notes, so you can listen for yourself over on YouTube. And it is unfortunate that that she did sound like she was less than 20, and she just wasn't prepared to give them the answers as they would have, that would have kind of shut them down. Again, something that Shawn was saying is so important, that within any community, we're always fighting to not be marginalized.
So that leads us to other things that are going on within the Federation?
Yes, the parents of blind children are still having the Candy Fundraiser. You have up until the early parts of April to get in on that. I'll have a link in the show notes. A lot of great stuff you can buy and support the parents of blind children. So check that out. And
if you listen to that clip that we mentioned from The Breakfast Show and you have some comments, feel free to email us your comments. Our email address is whitecanesconnect@gmail.com.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. And if it got you as irritated as Lisa and I, after we finished recording with Shawn, we found the clip and we played it so we could listen. And it's just infuriating to me how bad things are. Let us hear from you. You can send an email, like Lisa said, but give us a call and tell us about your thoughts on that clip. 267-338-4495. You've got up to 3 minutes. Please leave your name and town if you do leave a message. Again, 267-338-4495.
Yeah, so feel free. Don't hold back in your voicemail message. Let us hear that irritation and offense and outrage in your voice. And feel free to use all caps in your Gmail so we can get the same emotion for you that way.
There you go. Lisa, this was a great show for Black History Month.
Yes. Thank you all for listening.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.